Good afternoon and welcome. Again, good afternoon and welcome to Cultivating Resilience, Food Security Strategies in Mindanao. This is the 2024 SDG webinar number 4 for the year, and we are very delighted to welcome everyone to this webinar. So we'll proceed with the preliminaries, the national anthem, and the opening prayer.
Magiliw, pelas ang sinanganan, alam ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka pasisingin. Sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong bukaw, may nilagang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagdiningning, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng walhati pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Ang hinigaya na pag may mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
We wish to enter into silence and fill the silence with prayer. O one God of all nations, you created the earth and the cosmos in their differences, beauty and frailty. The diversity of cultures and religions seek you, the origin of all things. You want all to be for each other, not a threat, but a blessing. Our one world should be, by your will, a peaceful and habitable home. You created us all in your own image and likeness. We are your image. In all those that seek you in truth, you have inspired hunger and thirst for justice and a desire for peace. Awaken in all the religions and in the peoples of today that they should be instruments and messengers of a better, more loving world. Amen.
Okay, once again, good afternoon and welcome to 2024 SDG webinar number 4, Cultivating Resilience, Food Security Strategies in Mindanao. Food security is a critical issue in Mindanao, a region known for its agricultural productivity, yet challenged by various socio-economic and environmental factors. This webinar attempts to provide an overview of the current state of food security in Mindanao, identify key challenges and opportunities, and examine relevant policies and government initiatives aimed at enhancing food security. We have invited 2 resource persons who will be speaking for 20 minutes, and panel of reactors. I am Mark Paul O. Samante of the Ateneo de Davao University, and I will be your moderator for this afternoon. At this point, I'd like to welcome the Executive Director of Xavier Science Foundation and a member of the SDG webinar group, Mr. Roel R. Ravanera, for the welcome remarks. Sir Roel?
Thank you, McCoy. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, Sir Roel.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Maayong hapon sa inyong tanan. It is a great honor for me to welcome you all to the webinar, as mentioned earlier, entitled Cultivating Resilience, Food Security Strategies in Mindanao. As mentioned also earlier, this is the fourth webinar for this year, organized by the Sustainable Development Solutions Network Working Group on SDG 2, or the Zero Hunger. Mindanao. As my generation would remember, Mindanao was referred to as the Promised Land, given its vast fertile soil, fresh water, and clean air. It had been the preferred destination of many migrants coming from different parts of the country. In the past decades, however, this beautiful island experienced rapid changes. The vast forests have shrunk, and some of the green rivers turned brown. These changes have caused a lot of difficulties to the Mindanaoans in providing food for their families, sustaining their livelihood, and conserving their environment. Unfortunately, those hardest hit are the poor and the marginalized. The high cost of healthy diets, coupled with the persistent high levels of income inequality, put healthy diets out of reach for these communities. Thus, this webinar, as mentioned also by McCoy, it is intended to give an overview of the current state of food security in Mindanao, identify key challenges and opportunities, and examine relevant policies and government initiatives aimed at enhancing food security. We are truly grateful to have with us this afternoon Asek Romeo Montenegro, the Deputy Executive Director of the Mindanao Development Authority, and Mayor Romel Amado, the Municipal Mayor of Causwagan, Lanao del Norte. They will share their development initiatives in addressing these challenges. We also will be hearing the views of the students from Ateneo de Manila, the Davao, and Ateneo de Cagayan, or Xavier University. We will also hear from a leader of a woman leader of an indigenous community in Bukidnon. Given these stimulating inputs, we look forward to an exciting exchanges of ideas during the open forum. Hopefully, we can learn a lot from each other and be motivated to initiate creative and inspiring interventions to ensure that the Mindanaoans will have access to sufficient, nutritious, and safe food. Daghan kaayong salamat. All the best to us. Maayong hapon.
Thank you very much, Sir Ruel, for that warm welcome and a great overview of what will happen this afternoon. So, Mindanao is often referred to as the food basket of the Philippines due to its significant contribution to the country's agricultural output. The region is a major producer of rice, corn, bananas, cacao, coffee, and various other crops. However, despite this agricultural abundance, food security remains uneven across the region, with some areas facing significant challenges in terms of access to nutrition and sufficient food. So we will be hearing from two resource persons, followed by our panel of reactors, and then we'll proceed with the open forum. So our first speaker is the Deputy Executive Director of MINDA, or the Mindanao Development Authority. He is known as the Mindanao's premier salesman, having devoted his government career promoting Mindanao as an investment destination. A passionate communicator and advocate of peace and development, he is currently serving as Deputy Executive Director of the Mindanao Development Authority, or MINDA, the principal government agency mandated to coordinate the integrated development of Mindanao. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's give our first resource person, ASEC Romeo Montenegro of the MINDA, a round of applause. Sir Montenegro.
Thank you, Makoy. And maayong hapon kanatong tanan. Good afternoon, everyone. And on behalf of the Mindanao Development Authority, thank you very much for this opportunity. We always are grateful, and we are always appreciative of every opportunity to tell on a macro level the story of Mindanao's progress and transformation. And this afternoon's topic is essentially timely as we endeavor to also put forward current initiatives to ensure that Mindanao really do transform in terms of its nurturing the strengths of its agriculture sector, not only for today, not only at the present circumstances, but also especially looking at how do we frame our policies, our development interventions, our programs and projects to ensure that we are able to achieve a sustainable path for development in Mindanao, anchored on our inherent comparative strength, particularly the agriculture sector. Over the last recent years, we can probably reckon within the last 20 years, Mindanao has been growing at an average faster than the national rate. This is on account of how Mindanao had structurally evolved since a period 30 years, 40 years ago that is compounded by the vicious cycle of poverty plus armed conflict in many areas in Mindanao, lack of focus of key government agencies, and the disintegration of all our individual LGU initiatives and activities, and without looking at whether or not one is complementing the other. But in the last recent years and leading up to where we are today, it's entirely a different Mindanao from the kind of Mindanao that we have 10 years, 15 years ago. And we stand today at the pivotal juncture of sustaining this momentum, especially on the peace process, with the establishment of the Bangsamoro region that plays a pivotal role in terms of the overall economic growth of Mindanao. And Mindanao also being able to demonstrate its ability to perform and contribute to the overall national growth. And with this, Mindanao had been a focus of attention of many of our investors across different sectors, looking at the opportunities that are being made available in Mindanao and opportunities to expand and set footprints in Mindanao across many of these areas. And this is where we also now starting to see improvements in terms of our poverty levels from where we were 20 years, 15 years, 10 years, and 5 years ago. But however, the need to sustain and move our economic growth trajectory at an upward trend and at an accelerated rate. Proof of the pudding, in fact, is that as of last year, based on the PSA report, among 17 regions in the Philippines, Farm region posted the highest growth rate in terms of per capita household final consumption expenditure, um, indicating and validating that indeed there is a headway being seen in the BARM, particularly in the various regions that make up the autonomous region of BARM, Basilan, Sulu, Tawi-Tawi, and Maguindanao and Lanao del Sur. Although in the recent rulings by the Supreme Court, which is still subject to petition by the BARM, of which Sulu is being carved out. But nonetheless, we still, for purposes of this discussion, still include Sulu in the broader picture of the Bangsamoro region. And this is where we'd like to zero in, therefore, in this afternoon's topic, particularly on our strength in the agriculture sector, where we wanted to reinforce what has been generally recognized as our strength nationally. Because more than one-third of the country's farm area is in Mindanao. And we contribute over 42% of the country's food trade. And so most of the country's high-value crops, agricultural products are produced predominantly um, in Mindanao. And therefore making Mindanao, in terms of the global landscape, a major player. Seaweeds, banana, pineapple, rubber, tuna, so on and so forth. And for which Mindanao had been able to penetrate diverse market destination for many of our agricultural products and demonstrating our ability to really showcase and penetrate and expand market destinations for these champion
Recording in
commodities
progress.
of Mindanao. This is also one very important reality that we need to embrace, that we don't want to compete with Calabarzon in terms of the assembly of automobiles or the manufacturing or assembly of semiconductors, because our strength in Mindanao is essentially derived in the agriculture value chain, and for which 60% of our GDP is on account of the agriculture value chain. Whether it's hotel, banking, transport, malls, which are in the services sector. But if we looked at and integrate the agriculture value chain in the entire dimension, and this overall provides for us that much economic contribution. Agriculture also, value chain, provides for our strength in terms of being able to provide jobs that are enough, particularly in the many areas by which agriculture value chain are very much predominantly being stressed. In fact, 6 out of 10 jobs in Mindanao are related to agriculture value chain. However, whether or not these are the jobs that we wanted to continue to nurture, or we wanted to transition to more other sectors, and several other areas by which we are able to prepare our skills, talents, incorporating new technologies, for instance. Therefore, this is something that we have to reckon with moving forward in our ability to prepare the kind of jobs needed by the kind of graduates that we are able to produce in Mindanao. Also, our strength in agriculture was validated definitely by the pandemic story in Mindanao, where because of our strong reliance on the agriculture sector, we had been able to demonstrate resiliency. And while services and industries, on account of lockdown and as a result of the government choosing lives over our economy, and therefore the closures, temporary stoppage of many of the economic activities because of the lockdown. But at the end of the day, we may be at lockdown, we still need to eat 3 times a day. So the sector that flourished, the sector that demonstrated resiliency during the pandemic was, of course, the agriculture sector. However, This is the paradox, not just of the Philippine agriculture, not just of Mindanao, but the Philippine agriculture in general. That while we take pride in the strength of agriculture sector, but the paradox of it is that it is in agriculturally productive areas that we are also seeing high incidence of poverty, especially in Mindanao. And if we are trying to overlay commodities, products being produced where in areas that have highest poverty incidence, definitely we are seeing this particular validation of that particular paradox. Well, it just indicates that indicated, and it just simply means that over the years, our growth had not been uneven. We have an uneven growth distribution, not just in Mindanao, but perhaps in many areas across the country. And also, this is, of course, validated by the fact that, for instance, in Mindanao, the poorest sectors are farmers and fisher folks. Principally because many of our agricultural areas in Mindanao only produce raw material. For instance, in this case, in Tawi-Tawi, which accounts for 30 to 40% of the country's seaweeds output, only produce raw dried seaweeds brought to Cebu and Tacloban for processing. So Cebu and Tacloban earn the dollar-denominated revenues, and our seaweeds farmers only earn the subsistence level of income because there is no electricity, no water, no value adding, not being linked to the market, and also areas that are isolated from the major transport and logistics facilities or gateways. And so off the bat, this is what we need in Mindanao in terms of seeing immediate transition in many of our agriculturally productive areas, making available what had been absent in the equation all these years. A study that was done a few years back noted that part or one of the major reasons why agriculture has not been able to transition well in many areas, for instance, in Mindanao, is because there's lack of electrification, lack of mechanization, lack of value adding and post harvest. These areas are not being linked to the highways, to the processing areas, and to the export gateway. And so this is where we had been looking at putting forward so much of the strategies right now to ensure that we unlock these opportunities in Mindanao. But another important reality that is now shaping up rapidly in Mindanao in terms of our direction and future for agriculture are the realities that for the longest time we have perhaps simply ignored. And these are the realities of the impact of climate change. And in fact, in 2010, MINDA in partnership or HADTAP, the Manila Observatory, which was then led by now DNR Secretary Loizaga, Yulo, that in 2010, Manila Observatory assisted us in coming up with a projection of scenario for areas in Mindanao that's going to be affected by temperature rise, assuming we do nothing and we move towards the path of business as usual in terms of our emissions. A similar study which we asked USA to do for us in 2014 also validated the same trajectory, the same path of possible major problems that Mindanao is going to encounter in terms of water issues as a result of temperature rise and as a result of perhaps perpetuation of unabated utilization of these resources without looking at whether or not we are compromising its future. Then definitely we saw this coming and exactly how it had happened in the last recent years had formed the realities that indeed we're now facing the challenges of water. For instance, in the major rapidly growing urban cities of Mindanao, the city of Davao, city of Zamboanga, and Cagayan de Oro. And for us from here in Mindanao, if you're from Davao, perhaps you'd probably be fortunate. We're all fortunate that as of early this year, a private sector and government project via PPP finally rolled out a bulk water that allowed us no longer to rely on just groundwater source, but on a river stream that is powered by 100% renewable energy, delivering for us 500 to 600 billion thousand cubic meters of water daily in Davao. Where I live, for the last 14 years up until this year, our water source or our water supply is only available between 8 in the evening up to 6 in the morning. But with this new project now being commercially operated, it has been able to address that major challenge. But the challenge remains, I understand, in the cities of Cagayan de Oro as well as in Zamboanga. And so this calls for a new way of thinking, a new mindset, and finding a way by which new technologies, innovative solutions can be integrated into the kind of investments and planning for our water utilization, like in Mindanao, not just in the urban areas, but also in the rural areas where we derive so much of the water requirements to be able to unlock the opportunities of our agriculture sector. For instance, many areas in Mindanao, up until today, still has no level 3 water system. That's about 62% of Mindanaoans. And most of these are in the Bangsamoro region. Why part of what is being pursued by Minda right now in partnership with the ALG, the DENR, is on a major program that for the next 4 years up until, or for the next 4 or 6 years, would be able to increase the number of municipalities in Mindanao that are able to develop, have, and implement level 3 water systems. Another major realization that had not been reckoned with in many of our agri sectors in Mindanao and in many of the commodities in Mindanao is the water footprint in our selected agri crops. We pride ourselves as being, for instance, a major producer of coffee. 8 out of top 10 coffee producing provinces in the Philippines are in Mindanao. Of course, top notcher is Sultan Kudarat. In terms of cacao, Davao region is the country's cacao capital because about 80% of the country's cacao production is from Mindanao, especially or mostly in Davao region. But this is one very important dimension that needs to be embraced and to be appreciated so that it can guide us moving forward in terms of how do we pursue the continuing development of these crops without compromising our water. Because every kilo of cacao turned into chocolate utilizes around 20,000, nearly 20,000 liters of water. A kilo of roasted coffee would require almost 19,000 liters of water. In many plantation areas right now in Mindanao, for coffee and cacao, they are starting to feel the problems of how to deal with wastewater. They just allow this to sift through the river streams because wala naman silang technology to be able to convert, to put that back into the circular utilization. And this is where we are tapping multilateral agencies to help us in our targeted areas in Mindanao in terms of doing a circular economy type of project that would be able to make use again of the wastewater coming from this processing of specific commodities. Another reality we now embrace and face in Mindanao, the result of a major catastrophe that had created so much impact for us in the last 40 years. Sendong, Pablo, and a few others that are now making us realize that Mindanao is no longer typhoon free. Therefore, the need for us to be able to put forward a mindset of being resilient across the sectors that we are pursuing in Mindanao. Because the typhoon patterns had indicated several degrees deviation, and that when while in the past it moves starting off from a low pressure area of the Pacific, moving towards developing into a typhoon towards Visayas and Luzon. But in the last recent years, it is now passing through Mindanao. And another very important reality that adds up to the complication of the situation is, of course, our depleting forest cover. And as of 2010, we have yet to see the latest of this, assuming there's an improvement on account of the many programs put forward by the government. But as of 2010, we had about 6% of forest cover remaining in Mindanao. And so small rains every once in a while results automatically to flooding in several areas in Mindanao. And this is definitely a reality that should already form part of our ability to design the kind of future that we wanted to have for Mindanao. Therefore, the need to integrate policy, planning, infrastructure development that is able to integrate resiliency and adaptation. Because we cannot continue to do business as usual and then do not do anything about these emerging realities we now see in Mindanao. And for which, for instance, major effort had to be worked out in terms of addressing this situation, considering that 8 of the 18 largest river basins in the Philippines are in Mindanao. River basins that are sources of our water for agricultural productivity, but at certain times, water that's also a source of flooding and catastrophe in many other areas. Therefore, moving forward, among the strategies that Minda is working on in collaboration with all other sectors, Minda is not doing this and can never do this in isolation of what's being done, what's being put forward, worked out, planned, implemented by all other stakeholders in Mindanao, whether government, private sector, including those being put forward by multilateral agencies. That's why under our Mindanao development agenda that had been subjected to series of consultations in the last several months, leading up to the reformulation of this dated agenda that ensures alignment to our overall goal in terms of sustainable development goals and alignment to the national priorities under the Philippine Development Plan and strategies that should be able to identify and define for us in MINDA in partnership with key stakeholders in terms of identifying what sets of policies should be recommended, what programs should be proposed, and what development direction should be encouraged, especially in terms of our investments. Now, in addressing some of our immediate needs, particularly in unlocking opportunities for agriculture development in many areas in Mindanao, integrating resiliency and adaptation, among those that we have started to work out include tapping into development partners in terms of building for us a business case for replication in many other areas of Mindanao. Early on, I showed a picture of road-ride seaweeds in Tawi-Tawi that had not been scaled up or brought up to the level of the next value chain because of the lack of electricity and water. And so we built a business case in Sibuto and Sitangkay, which accounts for a significant production of seaweeds, to be provided with the first ever hybrid plant in Mindanao, 1.6 megawatts solar hybridized with battery and diesel to be able to provide electrification to 3,500 households in these two municipalities, and also electrification that will power the value adding of seaweeds. However, another very important lacking item in the equation is water. And so Minda is working right now with UNIDO, and we are awaiting approval following being shortlisted for a 10 million US dollars water desalination and groundwater project in Sibutu and Sitangkay. Be able to complete the two essential requisites of water and electricity to expect the value adding and processing seaweeds, particularly in Tawi-Tawi. Similar business cases were also worked out, funded the same by European Union and in partnership with EA and the LGUs to deliver the business case of solar-powered post-harvest facilities. Solar-powered irrigation, solar-powered rice mill, solar-powered coffee mill, solar-powered corn mill, and solar-powered seaweed dryer to be able to move towards an appreciation of integrating renewable energy in the agriculture value chain and no longer opt to a default diesel-powered post-harvest facilities. However, all of what we are endeavoring to accomplish in terms of agriculture growth, um, resilient agriculture in Mindanao needs to be complemented by connectivity, and hence the push for more of the connectivity projects in Mindanao. And among this was a project that was just approved by NEDA last week, which was initially proposed by World Bank and supported by MIDA back in 2019 in terms of identifying connectivity projects in Mindanao that should be able to link our production areas to the highways and to the processing centers. Because one major challenge that our farming areas had been having all these years are because of these areas not being able to reach the markets and the processing centers at much faster rates in a volume that is desired. Similar effort is also being done in terms of jointly identifying along with DPWH, NEDA, DTI, DA via a joint planning and programming in Mindanao in terms of the specific road connectivity projects to be able to reach difficult to reach farm areas so that they can be accelerated in terms of opportunities and expansion. This is also being complemented by a partnership between MINDA and the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization in terms of identifying agri-eco zones. Our challenge, not just in Mindanao, but all across the Philippines, is that we have a fragmented farming setup. We do not achieve a scale and volume that will warrant the construction, building, investment in terms of post-harvest facilities. That's why many of our farmers continue to earn subsistence level of farming. But if we are able to move towards consolidation and integration and making sure that post-harvest and value adding are being embedded into the entire chain, therefore we can expect for scaling up and improvement in terms of these products, and improvement in terms of income for many of our farmers. One proposal that is now being pushed by MINDA in partnership with the Department of Trade and Industry is a project called Transformational Enterprise Support for the Agribusiness Value Chains in Mindanao. If we wanted to see improvement in the income levels of our rural areas, the farming communities, the farmers and fisher folks, we have to look at the entire value chain. Where in the value chain do we identify the gaps, and therefore what interventions need to be worked out to address these gaps to be able to improve the products and accelerate the process by which we are able to also improve the lives of our farming communities and fisher folks. This is a mechanism by which we would want all other programs of government agencies be integrated, so that no one should be working in silo with the other. That is exactly what had been the reality in the last recent years or in the last several years of the past. This is moving forward in Mindanao, an opportunity for us to find the seamless integration of our different strategies and efforts across different government offices and in partnership with the private sector. In that entire process is also ensuring that our agricultural practices do integrate resiliency and adaptation strategies, because we cannot continue to also see farming practices that compromise the ability of our areas and lands to produce products or to be sustainable in the long term. And hence, the need to also integrate innovation, new technology, to ensure that our agriculture is resilient to the realities of our environment. Also integrating into the picture the digital innovation. And this is where we'd like, via our partnership with several other entities. For instance, in the case of an ongoing partnership with Minda and MasterCard and Philippine Space Agency. For MasterCard, our objective for that partnership is to be able to pilot in the Philippines the digitalization of our farmers network. Sometimes we've been hearing maayo pa or mabuti pa ang mga sari-sari store owner may ledger ng kung sino ang umutang, sino ang bumili ngayong araw na ito. But yung mga farmers natin do not have a recording of their production history. Something that can be worked out via this ecosystem that can be provided by MasterCard so that farmers will start to have a record, a credit history by way of their production that becomes the basis for them being able to tap into financing by the participating banks purposely for production inputs to be able to expand their production and for them to be linked directly to the market. Our partnership also with Philippine Space Agency will allow for us the mapping of agriculture commodities in Mindanao for purposes of planning, for purposes of policy, and for purposes of investment. This is also being complemented by an ongoing project supported by EU in GIZ in terms of mapping out various interventions and projects of all multilateral agencies in Mindanao so that we would be able to see who's doing what and where and whether or not one project is complementing, not duplicating or not countervening the objective of another. This is by way of having this database of projects in Mindanao. And at the end of the day, continue to forge partnerships for resiliency because we need the support of the external expertise, the best practices available in many other countries around the world. How had they been able to transition and transform their agriculture sector and therefore allow for their communities to improve their lives or to have the kind of life that provides for a very important element of happiness and resiliency and sustainability. And this is also how we would want to frame the direction of development in Mindanao, particularly in our agriculture sector, so that we don't just limit ourselves to exporting many of these crops that we are championed in Mindanao or all across vis-a-vis the country, but also our ability to whether or not these commodities, the development of these investments are able to improve the lives, especially of our farmers and fisher folks. That these are able to create the jobs that are needed in those areas. They have these jobs in the future. Daghang salamat ug maayong hapon.
Daghang salamat Sec input on Mindanao. So hope you can still the next speaker. Thank you very much. The government at both national and regional levels has implemented various policies and initiatives to address food security in Mindanao. However, there is room for improvement in their effectiveness and reach, particularly in conflict-affected and remote areas. One notable example of successful local governance in this area is the work of the local government unit of Kauswagan in Lanao del Norte. We are very much pleased to have with us a representative of the municipal mayor, Honorable Romel C. Arnado, to share with us the story of Kauswagan. So, sir? I'm sorry, ma'am pala.
Check. Headphones. I think they can hear us.
Yes, ma'am. We can hear you, ma'am. You may
Yes,
proceed.
good afternoon and
Good afternoon.
mabuhay everyone. I'm Leonor Hata Sweet Lukman, the tourism officer and the public information officer designate. Mr. Johnny Fentes was supposed to take this opportunity, but then again, meron pong biglang emergency. Talagang emergency as in yung kapatid po niya nasa hospital right now. So I have to take over this. I will try my best to explain everything to all our listeners and audience. Thank you. And today we will present to you the flagship program of our local chief executive, Mayor Romel C. Arnado. Okay. Romel C. Arnado, our municipal mayor, in Causuagan, Lanao del Norte, is the national president of League of Organic Agriculture Municipal Cities and Cities in the Philippines. He is also the president of Asia
Excuse me, ma'am. Ma'am?
Hello, good afternoon again.
Ma'am, we lost you for a bit.
Yes po, kasi may bagyo po kasing usog kaayo ang hangin. So, malakas po
Yeah.
masyado ang hangin dito kaya nawawala-wala yung signal namin.
Sige po,
So,
ma'am.
anyways, next slide please. Okay. When the last March 17, 2000, the president, our former president, Joseph Estrada, declared an all-out war in Causwagan, Lanao del Norte, when the MILF rejected the proposed agreements between the national government and the Moro National Liberation Front, and further reiterating a demand for a Bangsamoro Islamic State in the mid-1990s. So further violent attacks ensuing in many parts of Mindanao, including Lanao del Norte. In fact, ang Kauswagan po is naging parang center of hostilities and bloodshed where the armed forces of the Philippines aimed for the fall of Camp Abubakar, one of the MILF stronghold in the region. So, dun po nagkagulo-gulo na at marami na pong many families were displaced, and of course, ang effects ng war po is grabe po ang effect nito sa Kauswagan. And hindi lang po ito yung nung 2000, but nangyari din po ito again in 2008. So next slide please. Now, what are the effects of war? Alam po natin na nandyan yung peace challenges, of course, and under the peace challenges, meron po yan. Ayan na, armed conflict, law enforcement, illegal possession of firearms, poverty, illegal drugs, conflict, culture conflict. Lahat po ng klaseng nakakatakot na mangyari sa isang lugar, talaga pong nangyari na sa Kauswagan. Ang as I've said, marami po ang na-displaced. So marami pong nagliparan, and the area was so poor and desolate and so sad. Nakakatakot po talaga dumaan sa Kauswagan dati. So year 2010 when our current mayor Kung nakaupo na po si Mayor, year 2010, so he looked for the root cause of the problem. So dun po niya na-realize na um, hindi po culture conflict, hindi po siya religious or whatever, but it's hunger. Yun po ang talagang problema dati dito sa Kauswagan and all the rebel groups that are causing any problems here in the municipality. So, hunger, bakit sila gutom? Number one, dahil po sa area nila, hindi po nakakarating ang lahat ng mga government services. So, dahil hindi nakakarating yung mga government services sa kanila, wala silang chance na makapag-aral, hindi sila nakapagtrabaho, and so poor ang kanilang sitwasyon. Now, ang ginawa po ni Mayor is tinulungan niya in a way na hindi naman po niya binigyan kaagad, but of course, binigyan sila ng yung access sa mga government help or lahat po ng mga services ng gobyerno like yung medical, yung kanilang mga learnings. So ang ginawa po ni Mayor doon, tinulungan po niya kinuha niya ang loob ng mga itong ating mga MILF na mga combatants. So at first, hindi po madali para sa Kauswagan dahil syempre hindi mo naman bigla-biglang makukuha ang loob ng kung sino man, lalong-lalo na against sila sa isa't isa. So ang nangyari is, nagbigay lang po talaga si Mayor ng trust sa kanila. Pinakita niya na hindi niya kailangan i-surrender ang arms nila, but ang sinabi lang po talaga ni Mayor is, please surrender your heart. Kasi yun lang po ang kailangan ko. Hindi ko kailangan yung mga baril ninyo, but surrender your heart. You will make peace with you and we will help you. So ang ginawa po ni Mayor is kinapacitate niya yung mga rebel leaders. Like tinuruan kung paano magtanim kasi malalaki po ang mga lupain nila. So doon po nagsimula yung hope in walking through the path of peace in Kauswagan, which is the Arms to Farms program ni Mayor Arnado. So nung nakuha na po niya ang loob, ito na, yung mga strategies po ng Arms to Farms, meron pong declaration as an organic farming municipality through an ordinance. So talagang in-institutionalize po nila para naman po merong weight, di ba? Alam naman natin kung anong weight ng ordinance kung halimbawa maipatupad na po ito. At saka, yun nga, patuloy po hanggang ngayon, ang ginawa ni Mayor is yung talagang ang kanyang organic agriculture talagang ipinapatupad mula't mula. Ito na nga, meron ding establishment of school for practical or agriculture, which is overseer po ang LGU. And then meron din po tayong organic demo farm and learning sites wherein yung mga nagbe-benchmark po, natutulungan din po ang ibang mga munisipyo. And then the provision of pre- and post-harvest facilities. Nandyan na po ang ating mechanized farming din. So malaking tulong po ito para sa strategies ng Arms to Farms ni Mayor. Capacity building and technology, patuloy po talaga ang bibigay kaalaman hindi lang po sa residente ng Kauswagan but also the neighboring municipalities wherein nag-extend po or na-extend po ang Arms to Farms program ni Mayor. Tapos yung assistance to farmers, ayan, kahit na po yung mga animal dispersal, provision of animal breeding station, fishing gears, dispersal. Ito na po yung kumbaga parang anak ng kumbaga bunga ng Arms to Farms strategies ni Mayor. But dun po sa looking back, kumbaga balikan po natin yung strategy na kung saan si Mayor nung umupo na po siya talaga pong hiningi niya yung mga puso ng mga rebelde nating kasamahan, and then tinulungan sila, tinuruan sila na ngayon po ay pwede na po silang nagbibigay na po sila ng mga testaments ng kanilang mga buhay-buhay, tulad ng isang rebel returnee natin na napag-aral niya yung kanyang mga anak. So, nandyan na po yung realization. Noon pong nagkaroon na sila ng kabuhayan, nagkaroon na sila ng realization, wala na pong gulo sa Kauswagan. In fact, dati po, hindi po talaga pwede magkasabay sa isang lugar o kahit sa isang daan, sa isang dalan, ang Christians at Muslims. And everybody thought na yun ang problema, yung merong cultural differences, merong pati yung kanilang mga religion differences, ganun din. Akala nila yun ang pinagsimula ng gulo. But then again, hindi pala. Kasi nung nagkaroon na sila ng kabuhayan, nagkaroon na sila ng oras para baguhin yung kanilang mga buhay, maganda na, gumanda na rin po ang pananaw ng bawat isa. At dahil doon ay nagkaroon ng pagkakaisa between the Muslims and the Christians, the Maranaos and the other Bisaya and other tribes also na nag-i-exist po dito sa Kauswagan. At dahil po doon, ngayon maganda na po, meron na pong holistic at integrated approaches na ginagawa rin para sa ating strategies wherein magkakasama na po lahat ngayon. Wala na pong Muslim at Kristiyano dito, but then iisa at tinawag na itong Kauswaganon, isang buong Kauswaganon community. So dahil sa pagcapacitate, andyan na tuloy-tuloy na po yun, nagkaroon na po siya ng domino effect. Bale, capacitating the rebel returnees. In fact, meron po tayong isa namang rebelde na ang nangyari organic fertilizers po, like yung dalawang klaseng organic fertilizer na po dito at ginagamit po talaga like the vermicast and yung bokashi, ayun, vermicast and bokashi na organic fertilizers na ginagawa po at ginagamit po dito sa pinalago ni Mayor yung kanyang pag-institutionalize sa organic farming. Hindi lang po dahil to maintain peace, but also to give sustainability. That every table has food, that every Kauswaganon has food on their table. Like, meron po dyan yung communal gardening, meron po yung meron po every barangay, meron isang parang magandang garden na kung saan lahat ng nakatira dyan sa community na yan, nagtatanim. And apart from that, sa rin, meron ding house house gardens. Yung mga bahay-bahay po dito, kahit pupuntahan ninyo, makikita ninyo, may mga sariling gardens din sila. Kasi nga, yun nga, as part of the sustainability na pinapatupad po ni Mayor. And also, yung ating mga farms, yung mga malalaking farms po dito sa Kauswagan, ganun din po, organic din po ang ating pinapatupad. Kasi nga, naka-institutional na po yun na meron na pong ipinapatupad na ordinance about the organic farming dito sa Kauswagan. Organic farming, organic garden. So pinapatupad po yun dahil gusto ni Mayor ang sustainability. Gusto po niya na walang gutom at gusto din po niya lahat malulusog. No? As part of the goal aligning with the Global Sustainable Development Goals ng Kauswagan, gusto talaga ng lahat na, of course, nandyan yung no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation and infrastructure, so reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water and life on land. Ito po ang mga global goals for sustainable development na pinagtutuunan po ng pansin ng ating LGU. So, dahil po dyan, hindi lang po ang ating organic farming ang ipinapatupad ni Mayor. In fact, meron din po tayong fish ban monthly para naman po maging malusog ang ating karagatan. At dahil po sa programang ito, nanalo po sa UCLG Peace Prize sa Bogota, Colombia, ang Kauswagan Lanao del Norte. Dahil po sa kanilang program na From Arms to Farms, in which every conflict starts with poverty and hunger. Pero dahil po dito, dahil po sa programa ni Mayor, itong natugunan po itong poverty and hunger. Next slide, please. Ito po, meron din po tayong mga awards at mga recognitions na dahil po sa programang pinagmulan ng Arms to Farms po, sinimulan ng Arms to Farms, ito na nga po sa sinabi ko na meron na pong domino effect. Lahat po naging dahil ito, part po ito ng good governance ng ating butihing alkalde. So, marami pong mga napanalo ng awards ang Kauswagan year 2022, 2023, and 2024 marami na rin po. No, nagiging tanyag na po ang Kauswagan dahil sa mga na-achieve nito, in which nag-start lang po sa From Arms to Farms program ni Mayor na kanyang tinugunan ang root cause of the problem na dating war-torn municipality. So, patuloy po na natatanggap, patuloy pong tumatanggap ng mga awards ang Kauswagan at patuloy din pong ipinapatupad ang lahat ng adhikain at advokasya at ang vision po ni Mayor. Next slide, please. So ito po, ipapakita po natin ang poverty incidence sa Kauswagan. Noong 2009, umabot po sa 79.6%. Nung umupo na po si Mayor Romel Arnado, 2010, naging 62.72% po ito. At hanggang sa umabot po siya ng single digit na 9.1 noong year 2019. Today, if you can visit Kauswagan at makita ninyo ang ipinagbago po ng lugar na ito, ay talaga pong ibang-iba na po siya ngayon. Wala nang natatakot ditong pumunta. Ang peace and ang napaka-peaceful po ng lugar natin.
Yes, ma'am.
At yun nga po, maganda na po yung lugar natin, hindi na po magulo at na pwede na po talagang puntahan at mapag-aralan po yung mga proyekto or mga programs ng ating local chief executive. So next slide, please. Dahil po sa na-achieve po na kapayapaan dito sa Kauswagan, tuloy-tuloy na po ang ating pag-arangkada, kumbaga. Ito po, meron na pong increased revenue. Ito po yung record natin, yung ating stat no, ng increased revenue collections. In 2016, makikita po ninyo, nasa 43 million na po siya. Ang local revenue po ito ha. Ito, mas mababa po siya sa IRA. But today, 2019. So next slide please. Makikita na po ninyo na so ito po yung increased productivity, the number of farmers and the land area. Ang farmers natin marami na pong nagve-venture into farming dahil nga nakita nila na maganda rin talaga ang returns ng pagiging magsasaka. Kasi nga, tinutulungan po ni Mayor lahat yan ng mga farmers dito sa Kauswagan. Yung ating mga farmers, local farmers po natin ay hindi lang po binibigyan ng mga punla and kung ano-ano mga farm inputs, but also tinutulungan like hindi na po masyadong mahirap sa kanilang magtanim at mag-till ng land dahil meron po tayong mechanized farming. Yung ating mga farm mechanization po, pinapahiram lang po sa lahat dito sa ating mga constituents and even the neighboring municipalities as long as magpalista lang po sila and all. So yun po, kahit po yung mga as far as the municipality of Munay we're in, nandun yung camp ng ating mga kapatid na sina Commander Bravo at Commander Topsider, tinutulungan din po. At ito po, ang kanilang mga tanim, nakikita rin po dito sa ating statistics, no? Nandiyan yung organic upland rice. Wala po kasing, since ano po siya mabundok po rin kasi although coastal area po ang Kauswagan, but ang large part of the area po ng land ng Kauswagan is nasa pabundok po siya Kaya po upland rice ang mga naitatanim natin. At saka number one product din po natin dito ang peanut. So yun po talaga ang pinaka magandang produkto dito sa Kauswagan dati pa dahil po yan sa acidity ng ating lupa yun po ang prominent na product natin ang peanut apart from coconut and the vegetable production. Ito po lahat ng ito ay ang Municipal Agriculture Office po ang source natin since sila po ang overseer ng ating 100% ang agricultural aspect po ng LGU. So, nandyan po lahat ng total land and area po, no? So the project impacts. Ang impact po ng ang program ni Mayor is decrease in poverty incidence. Nakita niyo naman po mula 79 point something naging 9.1% na lang po siya dahil po ito sa patuloy na pagkakapacitate at pagpapatuloy at pinupursige po talagang maipagpatuloy ang Arms to Farms program. So, increase in enrollment rate in elementary and secondary schools. Marami po tayong schools dito. So, ang mga bata po talaga ay nakakapag-aral po. At yung mga hindi naman po kayang or hindi kayang malayo sa kanilang mga families na ayaw mag-proceed ng kanilang college degree, pwede rin po dito mag-aral dahil meron po tayong organic agriculture institute, lalo-lalo na ngayon na ini-institutionalize na po ang ating Arms to Farms into ginagawa ongoing po ang pagiging foundation nito, no? So, increase in employment rate up to 90% as of 2017. Totoo po, dati wala pong mga trabaho ang mga tao dito. In fact, ang dami na pong umalis ng kauswagan. But nung bumalik po ang peace and reconciliation with our brothers and sisters na dating kalaban, no, ng gobyerno, ngayon po nagsibalikan na rin po, lumaki na rin po ang population ng kauswagan at bumalik na rin po ang tiwala. So, kaya umakyat na rin po ang employment rate ng mga tao dito. Kasi tuloy-tuloy na po lahat ang ating pamimigay ng trabaho at ang ating mga opportunities. Increase in MILF commanders and members now involved in farming. Yes, this is true. Lahat po sila nabigyan na po ng pagkakataon na magbagong buhay. In fact, meron po kaming mga video clips na mga presentations kung saan na-interview natin sila at naipagmamalaki po nila ang kanilang mga outputs, like ang kanilang mga farms, ang kanilang mga gardens, ang kanilang mga even as meron din silang anong tawag dito, fish ponds na talagang nakaka-compensate at nakakataba ng loob dahil dito nakita na nila po ang epekto ng proyekto. Nagkakapera pa sila, hindi pa sila tago ng tago at wala na putukan. Yun nga ang sabi ng ibang mga ating mga kapatid, no, na mga So, increase in income of rebel returnees by 40%. From time to time kasi po, pupunta sila dito at nag-uusap-usap. Nalalaman din po natin ang kanilang income dahil ang kanilang mga produkto po dumadaan po sa OTP, yung ating organic trading post na hawak po ng ating Municipal Agriculture Office. So na-monitor nila at saka sila na rin po mismo ang naghahanap ng buyer para dito sa ating mga products po na mula sa ating mga farms na hawak din po ng ating mga rebel returnees and other regular farmers po dito sa Kauswagan. So, increase income of marginal farmers by 60%. Ayan. Tuloy-tuloy na po ang produkto at ang pag-increase at ang pagtanggap at ang kita ng bawat isa. Pati po ang ating mga women and informal sectors, meron na po sila mga livelihood dahil po sa peace. No? So peace, harmony, understanding, and cooperation was established. So yun po talaga ang nangyayari ngayon sa Kauswagan. Kaya po wala na pong gulo, wala na pong putukan, nakakatulog na po ng maayos ang mga tao dito. Increase in NGOs, POs, cooperatives, and associations. Opo, meron na po tayo. In fact, meron na po tayong sariling kooperatiba dito sa Kauswagan at ang ating mga NGOs po, malaki na rin po ang tiwala. Nag-i-invest na po dito at ang iba po mga business, marami na pong business opportunities dito ngayon sa Kauswagan. So next slide, please. Commander Bravo sought reconciliation and pledged support to community development efforts in Kauswagan. This is true kasi nga po, dahil po nakuha po ni Mayor ang loob ni Commander Bravo at nakita rin po niya talaga ang sinseridad ng ating local chief executive na talagang mapanatili ang peace and order situation ng Kauswagan and as well as the sustainability, yung kanya pong mga visions na gusto niyo pong maiangat ang kabuhayan ng buong munisipyo. Doon po talaga pong hanggang ngayon si Commander Bravo po pwede po naglalakad-lakad na po siya dito sa Kauswagan na kahit yung mga regular na mga tao, mga residente hindi na po natatakot. In fact, hawak kamay na po sila ngayon. May mga bisita po tayo from national or international po. Kasama po natin si Commander Bravo na sumasalubong at nag-i-impart ng mga kwento kung anong nangyari, ang kwento po ng Kauswagan. So next slide, please. We're almost done. Next. Next, please. Ito na nga po, na-present na po natin itong poverty incidence. Next po. Sige pa po, next po. Dito rin po nakikita natin na ang Kauswagan sa year 2022 hindi po tayo IRA dependent dahil malaki po ang local collection ng ating LGU. So isa rin po ito sa mga ipinagmamalaki ng ating local chief executive dahil talagang hindi niya po pinabayaan ng Kauswagan dahil dito to sustain. Next po. Tagana ang slides. Next din po. Meron din po tayong Balay Silangan, a reformatory center, wherein ngayon po, parang ito na lang po ang naiiwang natatanging Balay Silangan sa buong Pilipinas yata. Hindi, sa buong Mindanao po. Hindi ko po alam. Hindi. Siguro dapat ang i-declare po in Northern Mindanao muna kasi baka meron din po sa ibang karatig probinsya, So the first municipality to establish a drug reformatory center campaign to eradicate illegal drugs in the municipality. Totoo po ito. In fact, unang-una pong regular po ang the drug testing inuna po niya yung kanyang sariling pamamahay which is the LGU community. Biglaan lang po kami dito, meron kaming yung mga biglaang tests para po makita kung sino po talaga ang sumusunod sa batas at mabigyan po ng pagkakataon na magbagong buhay. Yan pong Balay Silangan namin existing at presently mga mga neighboring communities po pumupunta po dito at ini-enroll ang kanilang mga drug dependents. Next slide, please. Over the years, the local government and community leaders collaborated to make violence a thing of the distant past. Aside from actively leading food sufficiency and peace-building efforts, the local government addressed serious gaps in the promotion of economic development, social equity, and environmental protection. To achieve this, a holistic bottom-up approach was generated to address the needs of present and future generations, especially those from marginalized sectors, through the institutionalization of the SICAD-PA vision. So, ito po ang ginawang kumbaga parang basehan kung saan po patungo ang vision, kung saan po patungo ang economic development, ang social equity, and environmental protection. Isa po ito sa mga talagang pinagtutuunan ng pansin ng ating gobyerno, kasi nga po, para po masustain ang meron pong sustainability sa food and sa peace. The story of Kauswagan is embedded in the hearts and minds of those who witnessed struggled and survived several decades of conflict and instability. The key players of Kauswagan transmogrification, who made those critical decisions of abandoning their old lives and choosing to build more productive ways of living, are the modern heroes that revolutionized a new society, now well built for a sustained life in the future that new generations may enjoy. Ang maganda po dito is bumisita po kayo sa Kauswagan at ma-experience nyo naman po at makita ninyo ang story of Kauswagan. Last year po, nagkaroon po kami dito po ginanap ang 6th Organic Asia Congress wherein 32 countries were able to join us with 200 plus international delegates and the national delegates amounting to umabot po kami ng 1,300 na mga mayors, local mayors and agriculturists, no? So dito po ginanap yung 6th Organic Asia Congress kung saan po na-enjoy nila ang kauswagan at natutunan nila ang pagbangon ng kauswagan mula sa lugmok na kahirapan dati at nakita rin nila ang plans and programs ng ating local chief executive kung saan nakikita naman nila ang sustainability efforts at ang ating paraan kung saan maging more developed po ang kauswagan. So, yun lang po ang maibabahagi ko sa inyo. Sana po kahit po nagkaputol-putol po ang ating linya, somehow meron po kayong natutunan sa ating ibinahagi. Naway po kahit papano po may natutunan po kayo sa ating presentation. Maraming salamat po.
Salamat din po, ma'am. It's very insightful and very inspiring po na marinig ang kwento ng kauswagan. Paano po kayo nag-recover after all the setbacks and all the challenges? I think it's very inspiring to know and hope you can still stay for the open forum in a while. So we wish you're safe dyan po sa kauswagan na medyo binabayo ng bagyo ngayon. We'll be transitioning to our reactors. We've heard from the leaders, and now we'll be hearing from the future leaders of the country. We'll be hearing from the youth and from community leaders. So these are the order by which they will be sharing their reactions. We'll be having Ms. Hannah Aquino, a third-year AB Public Management student of the School of Business and Governance of Ateneo de Davao University, followed by Mr. Joshua Bulado, a fourth-year BS Agribusiness of the Xavier University Ateneo de Cagayan, and Ms. Demi Valerie Chacon, a fourth-year BS Life Sciences Management of Ateneo de Manila University, and lastly by Bae Emilia Guina, an IP leader from Bukidnon. So, Hannah, I'm turning over the floor to you.
Hello.
Hi, Hannah. Please proceed.
Thank you, Sir Makoy. So good afternoon, everyone, to our esteemed speakers, Minda Asek Romeo Montenegro and Mayor Romel Arnardo, represented by Ma'am Yoni Fuentes, to our University Community Engagement and Advocacy Council Chairperson, Sir Makoy, my co-reactors, to Ma'am Bae Emilia Gina, and participants. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be part of this crucial conversation. Firstly, I want to commend the organizers and all of the participants for bringing forward such a significant dialogue initiative, one that is particularly timely for Mindanao, a region often overlooked despite being the backbone of the Philippines' agricultural supply. As an advocate for forwarding the agenda of Mindanao, and as someone who is from Mindanao myself, I believe it is high time we shed light to the region's potential and in the same way, challenges we face. Mindanao, after all, is the leading region in agricultural production, yet it's ironic how we still grapples with food insecurity in many areas, a paradox that we must confront. we see the disconnect between the region's agricultural capacity and the persistent issues of hunger and malnutrition, especially in rural and conflicted affected areas, which all the more underscores the need for targeted, context-specific interventions. Hearing from the talk of ASEC Romeo Montenegro, showing to us a thorough and very data-driven presentation, sharing us the progress of Mindanao in terms of economic growth, investment, enterprise support, and knowing the realities and current context of our communities, especially in the Baram region and other regions in Mindanao. As per ASEC Montenegro, he said that we should reinforce what has been generally recognized as our strength, being the most with the agricultural supply in the country. On the other hand, Ma'am Fuentes from Lanao del Norte local government unit shared to us how their land, Kauswagan, used to be the center of insurgencies and bloodshed war of MILF. More importantly, how hunger and lack of government intervention was the real root cause of violence other than cultural conflict. As a public management student and as someone who participated in various Mindanao-wide youth-led initiatives, I have witnessed firsthand the immense impact that the local governance combined with dialogue from the civil society participation can have. We see how government intervention and extending its service, just like how the mayor of Lanao del Norte paved their way in walking with hope and establishing peace talks to counter armed conflict and hunger. How this significantly dropped the poverty incidence in their province and increased their employment rate instead. On the other hand, what I really appreciate from ASEC Montenegro's discussion is how the Minda service have forged various partnerships such as having the MasterCard Farmer Network, and other enhanced partnership from the agencies, as well with the programs and projects from the private sectors. With this, I think it is imperative that we look into and emphasize holistic approach in combating social issues and the role of partnerships, where the government through the local government units or LGUs are not and should not only act as facilitators, but as active players in advancing and facing social issues. Hence, collaboration between local government units, civic organizations, and the private sectors must be intensified. We see how public-private partnerships or PPP are a powerful tool in addressing food security, especially when we think of digitizing food systems as highlighted in this webinar. Digitization can bridge the rural divide, ensuring that agricultural knowledge, resources, and support systems reach even the most remote areas of Mindanao. Through this, the involvement of local governments and communities in creating resilient food system will cultivate ownership and long-term sustainability, as mentioned by Attorney Montenegro. So imagine, because we also have here Ma'am Bae Emilia Gina, right, an IP leader from Bukidnon. Imagine the impact of empowering our indigenous peoples who are natural stewards of the land and aligning their traditional knowledge with modern agricultural practices through these partnerships. Because yes, we have the policies, yes, we have the information, and yes, we all have the factual data. But what we really need is the execution that fully involves and respects local context, especially here in Mindanao. If I may say this, we could begin by creating a Mindanao-wide framework, just like what the Lanao del Norte have established, like their program of From Arms to Farms, that brings together public, private, and academic sectors, as well as the people from the very community, wherein this framework would allow for knowledge sharing and scaling up successful community-based initiatives across the region. More so, we must also engage peace-building efforts in conflict-affected areas, ensuring that food security programs are not just about survival, but a part of a long-term strategy for peace and development. Because hearing from the talks, yes, again, we have the capacity, the knowledge, and the will, but what we really need now is to translate this into coordinated action by fostering partnerships, advocating for stronger local governance involvement, and leveraging digitization and innovation. We can cultivate resilience in Mindanao's food system and achieve zero hunger goal. So let's just keep pushing forward, not just for Mindanao, but for a future where no Filipino goes hungry. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you very much, Hannah. We may now proceed to Mr. Joshua Bulado.
Hello, good afternoon. Can you
Hi,
hear me, sir?
Joshua. You may proceed.
All
Yes.
right. So good day, everyone. I am Joshua Bolado, and I am a fourth-year agribusiness student of Xavier University. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to share my thoughts on the topic of food security in Mindanao. And I would also like to extend my gratitude to the organizers of this webinar for creating a space for us to discuss such an important issue. So, from what our respected speakers have shared today, it's clear that food security remains a pressing concern in our region, despite Mindanao being the food basket of the Philippines. So, this issue is particularly important for us agribusiness students as it highlights the critical role agriculture plays in the well-being of our communities and the economy. So from what ASEC Romeo Montenegro said, the challenges facing food security in Mindanao are multifaceted. Climate change, for example, continues to threaten agricultural productivity. The increasing frequency of typhoons, droughts, and floods disrupts both production and supply chains. And as future agribusiness professionals, uh, I see this as a call to focus on climate resilient agricultural practices, such as crop diversification, agroforestry, and the use of drought resistant varieties. These methods can help farmers adapt to changing environmental conditions while also ensuring a stable food supply. Another key issue mentioned is infrastructure. Poor road networks and inadequate storage facilities lead to significant food losses, particularly for perishable crops. This presents a major opportunity for agribusiness students like myself to explore innovations in logistics, storage solutions, and digital platforms that can connect farmers directly with consumers. Improving supply chain efficiency can not only reduce food waste but also ensure that food is more accessible and affordable across Mindanao. So many farmers in Mindanao remained locked in subsistence farming, which limits their ability to move beyond survival and toward profitability. So through agribusiness initiatives such as cooperatives, contract farming, and value-added processing, uh, these farmers can access better markets, improve their productivity, and increase their incomes. And as an agribusiness student, I see tremendous potential in helping farmers transition to more sustainable and profitable farming models. By providing farmers with access to training, technology, and financial resources, agribusiness can become a powerful tool also for reducing poverty and enhancing food security. This in turn can help uplift the entire rural communities. So from the impactful insights of Mayor Romel C. Arnado shared by Ma'am Dione Fuentes, it's clear that food security in Mindanao requires both innovative and community-driven approaches. Mayor Arnado's Arms to Farms initiative is an inspiring example of how strategic programs can address food insecurity while also promoting peace and livelihood in conflict-affected areas. By establishing schools for practical agriculture, expanding communal gardens uh, shared by Sir Romeo Montenegro, and also by distributing animals and fishing gears. This initiative directly supports sustainable agricultural practices while empowering communities economically. Another point raised by Sir Romeo Montenegro is the importance of sustainability in addressing food security. Sustainable agricultural practices like organic farming and the use of renewable energy are essential for ensuring long-term food security. It's clear that we need to prioritize farming methods that are not only productive but also environmentally friendly. Community-based initiatives such as engaging local farmers and empowering marginalized groups also plays a critical role in building resilience. When local communities are actively involved in food security programs, they are more likely to adopt sustainable practices and build stronger, more self-sufficient agricultural systems. As a future agribusiness professionals, it is our role to help drive these initiatives. And finally, from what ASEC Montenegro mentioned, we need to remember that food security is not just about food availability, but it's also about nutrition. Malnutrition, particularly among children in rural areas, remains a serious issue in Mindanao. And as an agribusiness professional of the future, I've realized that it is a responsibility to promote the production of more nutrient-rich crops and support initiatives that educate communities about the importance of a balanced diet. So to conclude this, it's evident that food security in Mindanao requires a comprehensive and collaborative approach. As an agribusiness student, I am inspired by the many opportunities we have to make a positive impact by promoting climate resilient farming, improving supply chains, empowering farmers, and advocating for sustainable practices. We can help build a more food secure and resilient Mindanao. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Joshua, for your insights. So we'll now proceed to Miss Demi Valerie Chacon. But before you start, Demi, the speaker from Kauswagan is not Mr. Um, Fuentes, but Miss Sweet Lukman. She just pitched in for Mr. Fuentes. So, Demi, you may proceed.
Hello, mayong hapon. I am Demi, and I am grateful to participate and learn from the relevant discussions of our speakers and fellow reactors, which emphasize the systemic view on food systems that reinforces the intersectionalities of agriculture, education, social protection, climate change, sanitation, and health. It is a framework I observed that is applied in Sir Montenegro's mentioned efforts of MINDA to implement multisectoral and multilateral approaches in addressing food insecurity in Mindanao, particularly during the pandemic. It shows that the agricultural value chain considers socio-economic conditions. Similarly, it means that food security must be included in our humanitarian priorities, as Ms. Lukman said earlier. So I agree that there is a need to localize interventions as a supplement to national governance because regions have different capacities and conflicts to consider. As demonstrated in Kauswagan, LGUs can effectively institutionalize the co-creation of cohesive and equitable food production. Although I am in Manila, I am from Iligan City, Lanao del Norte. So the personal interest and the right to food developed through lived experiences of the food environment in Iligan. I remember some local farmers and fisher folks in the public market expressing that they would not want their children to adopt their livelihoods due to inadequate social support. Additionally, it is unfortunate that micronutrient undernutrition, which defines hidden hunger, is a transgenerational problem. I studied in grade school where feeding programs are conducted and fortified products and rice are distributed to the students, which are similar incidences to my parents who live in Iligan and Bukidnon. I learned that it was an effort to improve the resilience and nutritional status of school-age children in northern Mindanao. However, it also suggests that one, poor diet and nutritional deprivation in households is a recurrent public health concern, and two, self-sufficiency, given high agricultural production in the region, is not necessarily equivalent to food security. Poor dietary diversification really affects our intake of essential vitamins and minerals such as iron and vitamin A needed for us to function, learn, and live a productive life. And malnutrition at preschool age, under 2 years old, can have permanent effects on cognitive functions. So micronutrient deficiencies can be attributed, therefore, to one, our attitude toward diet, which focuses on quantity rather than the quality or nutritional value of food, and two, our immediate associations with malnutrition, which are visible measures such as stunting. And lastly, the insufficient nutrition for pregnant and lactating mothers with reference to the need of breastfeeding. In terms of the systemic factors, it includes the availability, affordability, accessibility, and stability of different food groups, as mentioned also earlier. And unfortunately, common Filipinos afford energy, but not necessarily nutrition is sufficient food rather, with the minimum cost of the recommended diet substantially exceeding households' capacity to spend. Additionally, we are vulnerable to frequent weather extremes, which causes unstable food production. Besides food and cash grants, recommendations really include assessments at households levels to gather nutritional information and profiles, particularly on remote settlements and or indigenous communities with their knowledge of sustainable and climate-resilient food systems. Moreover, the LGUs can collaborate with different institutions as observed in Kauswagan and to use local markets to really trade food products with lower cost through direct supply and subsidies for farmers and our fisher folks' produce. And to increase collective awareness of the significance of micronutrients, research and educational materials can be adopted in schools and health centers. As a life sciences management student, I really value the need for life supporting systems to secure essentials such as food. While the state has its legal obligations, each of us shares responsibility in addressing food insecurities and consequences such as micronutrient deficiencies. And know that we are together in capacity building for a holistic food system that safeguards the rights of children for healthier and nourished development. Daghang salamat.
Daghang salamat po, Demi. So, we've heard from Demi, Joshua, and Hannah. We'll now hear from an IP leader from Bukidnon, Bae Emilia Guina.
Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Ako po si Bae Emilia Guina at mas kilala po ako na Baiyayang sa aming barangay Portolin, Pangantukan, Bukidnon at isa po akong tribong talaandig sa Mount Kalatungan. Ako po ang namamahala ng aming katutubong pangkabuhayan katulad ng pagproseso ng kape at isa rin akong merong traditional home gardening. Kalatungan ay isang protected area. Ito ay tirahan ng mga iba't ibang uri ng mga hayop katulad ng ibon, mamalya at mga insekto. Sa nagdaang mahabang panahon, ang Mount Kalatungan ang nagbibigay sa amin ng katutubo ng mga pagkain, gamot at ibang pangangailangan. Ang nakakalungkot ay unti-unting lumiliit ang bundok ng Kalatungan noong lumipas na mga dekada dahil sa pagpuputol ng mga kahoy at pagpasok ng mga plantasyon ng saging at pinya. Ito'y nagdulot ng kagutuman at kahirapan dito sa aming mga nakatira sa bundok at pagbabaha ng aming mga komunidad sa kapatagan. Ang mga dapat naming isulong na mga pamamaraan para masiguro ang aming pang-araw-araw na pagkain ng aming pamilya at komunidad. Ano ang mga suporta? Ang kakailanganin ng mga naninirahan dito sa bundok, sa Bukidnon, Mindanao. Isa sa mga paraan sinimulan namin dito sa Mount Kalatungan ay ang home gardening. Sa gabay ng Severe Science Foundation, binalak namin na magkaroon ng 60 home gardens. Ngayon, mahigit na 200 daan na ang meron home gardens. Bakit maraming nagnanais na ibalik ang home gardens? Ano ba ang idinulot na kabutihan sa amin? Dahil sa home gardens, naiwasan namin unti-unti ang kagutom bukod sa masustansyang mga gulay, malaki rin ang maitulong sa amin sa kapaligiran. Unti-unting bumabalik ang mga iba't ibang halaman na ipinamana ng aming nakatatanda. Nakatulong din ito sa aming maayos na samahan sa komunidad at sa kanilang pagbibigay at pagtutulungan. Ang aming natutunan dito sa home garden na nanais naming ibahagi sa inyo. Ang pagkain ay napakahalaga sa ating buhay at sa ating pamilya, sa ating komunidad. Kung maaari, huwag natin itong iasa sa mga negosyante o sa mga korporasyon na magtutulungan tayo na ang ating pagkain ay nasa ating mga kamay. Kasama ng ating lokal na pamahalaan at ng ating samahan. Itaguyod natin ang lokal na seguridad ng ating pagkain. Ang aming sinisigaw ay pagkaon namo, tanong namo. O sa wikang Tagalog, pagkain namin, tanim namin. Magandang hapon po sa kilala po ako na baiyayang sa amin.
Okay, so maraming salamat, Bai Yayang, for your sharing of your experience there in Bukidnon. So we're now at the exciting part of this forum, wherein we will be entertaining questions for our resource persons, probably not only questions, but insights that you have gained from listening from our resource persons as well as our reactors. So you may type your questions. You may also raise your hand. Okay, from the 80 participants that we have, is this Philip Aitona? Philip Aitona, you're recognized, yes.
Thank you. My question is for the representative from Kauswagan, Ms. Lukman.
Yeah. Ma'am Sweet, are you still with us?
Yes po. I'm
Okay.
listening po.
Yes. Yes, Sir
Yeah.
Philip, please proceed.
Thank you very much. There's been much discussion today on organizational intervention on promoting food security, with farmers playing a central role. My question flows from the insight that farmers cannot produce food if they are dead. Last September 19, 2023, one farmer and two fishermen were killed using M16 and M13 rifles in Barangay Inudaran in Kauswagan. Their names are Undo Alpante, Mark Maglangit, and Mike Maglangit. May I ask what progress has been made in holding the killers accountable for the killing of these farmers and fishermen?
I see. Siguro po yung tungkol po dito sa tanong ninyo, ang makakasagot po niyan ang ating mga kapulisya, ang mga kapulisan, and also the reports. Kasi po, ang sa akin po it's all about the program lang po. But dun po sa nangyaring krimen, hindi ko po kayang sagutin.
I see. I suppose the reason I asked that question is because these programs are indeed very helpful and they're very nice. But if the farmers themselves are being killed, not only by unknown assailants, but sometimes even by state actors like the military, then it would be fruitless because the dead cannot harvest.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Philip, for that insight. Definitely. Okay, we have one from the chat. From Mr. Aaron Sakluti. What are your thoughts on the problems of losing and culturally native biodiversity food in Mindanao? Heritage rice, tomatoes, and balancing economic growth in the area. I think this is addressed to our ASEC Montenegro. ASEC, are you still around? Okay, let's proceed to another question from Pino Panotes for Kauswagan. Who are the primary buyers, consumers of the increased volume of production in Kauswagan? Is it primary and local consumers themselves? What percentage of the produce is consumed locally? What percentage is bought by the neighboring municipalities or bought by the other regions? Did the LGU actively help in looking for buyers for the organic produce? Because it might not be that easy for farmers to be busy planting while at the same time looking for buyers. Ma'am Sweet, do you have any insight on the question?
Yes po, as I've said kanina po, meron po tayong OTP, which is the Organic Trading Post. Lahat po ng produce ng ating mga farmers, dinadala po dito sa OTP, wherein ang OTP, which is managed by our Municipal Agriculture Office, sila po ang naghahatid at naghahanap ng buyers. So, ganun po. Ang mga produkto po ng ating farmers ay siguradong bayad. So, hindi po problema sa farmers natin ang pag-dispose po ng kanilang products. In fact, meron din pong mga direct buyers din po sa kanila. But kung wala naman pong buyers na during sa kanilang harvest time, yun po ay dinadala nila sa OTP. Kaya po ang OTP po ang magdi-dispose nun. So sigurado po na ang ating farmers kumikita pa rin po.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ma'am Sweet. So, may comment po sa may comment sa chat on that. So, nakakatuwa naman po. This is from Pino. Kaya pala very successful. So, it's really close collaboration between the farmers and the LGU that can help make progress in this endeavor as presented by Kauswagan. Sir Aaron Sakluti will try to reach out to ASEC Montenegro. I think he stepped out for a while, but he gave us his email, so we can forward your question to his email address. You're very much welcome. Are there any more insights from the attendees?
There is one question, Makoy. It's in your, I directly messaged you.
Yeah, thank you, Ma'am Gail. But before I proceed to that, here's one from the chat from John Gerald Gabriel. Are there any efforts po to echo the SAID project on a much more larger audience, provincial and national? I think this is directed to Miss Sweet of Kauswagan.
Yes po. Ang efforts po ng ating mayor is mga internationally recognized po ang Arms to Farms. So until now, lahat po ginagawan po ng paraan para po maipagpatuloy po ang ating audience. I mean, mas mapalawak po ang audience natin, not just internationally, but kahit po dito sa local natin, no, sa national. Kasi nga, kulang pa rin po, hindi po masyadong matunog ang Arms to Farms program ni Mayor dito. But internationally, siya, he was invited to speak in Italy, Germany, ilang cities po sa Germany, natapos na rin po ni Mayor. Berlin.
In fact, next month.
Oo, next month po, in fact, aalis po yata sila papuntang Switzerland. I mean Geneva. Para rin po sa
World Future Policy.
World Future Policy na dadaluhan po ni Mayor. And also yung
project na pinapose.
oo, yung pong proposal ni Mayor doon na from arms to farms. So, meron pa rin pong efforts tungkol po sa tanong ni Sir na larger audience, provincial or national. Yes po, patuloy pa rin po kami. Even po as simple as benchmarking, pag may nagbe-benchmark po dito na benchmarking po dito ng mga munisipyo, yun po ang palagi naming pinipresent. Meron po kaming mga presentations at meron din kaming open forum pa rin po. Number one po is Sibagat, which is meron din pong meron yung mayor po nila may advokasya po ang organic agriculture at in fact ginawa nilang replika. Pag ginawa nila ng replika, ginagamit po nila sa kanilang munisipyo ngayon. Yung pong ginagawa ni Mayor na From Arms to Farms program po. Yun po.
Okay, thank you, Miss Sweet. Another question. Since you are quite successful in your agri program in Kauswagan, there's a question from Jose Maria College, Miss Myla Yulo. The Philippines is now the biggest importer of rice. So how can the agri sector in Mindanao help lessen this problem?
Strong emphasis.
Enough na po ba yung supply ng Kauswagan to address the importing of rice?
Kung siguro po sa Kauswagan lang kayang-kaya po. Ang problema po kasi, yung iba pong munisipyo, hindi po sila gaanong nakafocus sa organic farming and also nagiging kaunti na rin po ang ating, siguro meron din tayong scarcity sa farmers natin, I believe. Kasi kung siguro halos lahat naman ng agricultural land ng Mindanao magtatanim, I don't think so magkakaroon pa tayo ng opportunity na mag-import. No? Siguro lang kailangan ng ating agricultural sector ng more efforts in campaigning na magtanim talaga tayo, mas doblehin pa natin yung pagtatanim. Kasi yun lang naman kung hindi naman siguro tayo mag-i-import, sir, kung meron tayong di ba? Meron tayong enough
Yes.
na kung magtatanim naman ang buong Kauswagan, maliit lang po ang Kauswagan, hindi pa rin niya kayang i-cover yung buong Pilipinas.
Okay,
Diba?
okay. Noted po, Miss
Thank
Sweet.
you po.
And on that note, may follow-up question po dito. Lahat po ba ng municipal agricultural offices sa buong Pilipinas ay required na magtatag ng trading post? Same sa inyong experience po dyan, or is just an initiative of the LGU of Kauswagan?
Yes, it's just an initiative of the LGU kasi na-realize po yan ni Mayor na baka mahirapan ang ating farmers na magbenta since paano sila makapasok sa ibang community, sa ibang neighboring cities and municipalities. So ang ginawa is para mas mapadali, isang sektor lang ang lalabas at maghahanap ng In fact, isa po sa ang ating mga farm dito producer po tayo ng lettuce sa mga malalaking malls po sa neighboring cities po. So, at saka sa mga ibang resorts outside Kauswagan like the Iligan City and dito rin po papunta naman sa Lanao del Norte. Marami na po, pakyawan system na po dito ngayon ang nangyayari sa ating lettuce. So, number one producer din po ng lettuce ang Kauswagan kasi madali po siyang tumubo at the same time, so healthy naman po. At lahat po kumakain ng lettuce dito.
Okay.
Murang-mura lang po ang kilo namin. Kaya ayun,
Salamat.
nagkakaubusan din po.
Salamat, Miss Sweet. Sir Philip Aitona, you're raising your hand again. You're recognized.
Thank you very much. Oh, my question is again for Ms. Yu. The country has this National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict, the NTF, ELCAC. And it has various programs like the Balik Loob program, providing a mechanism for former rebels who surrendered to reintegrate to mainstream society, and the Barangay Development Program, etc. So it has a lot of money to like help address the root causes of conflict. I was wondering whether Kauswagan Arms to Farms program receives funding from the National Task Force to End Local Communism.
Okay, thank you. Miss Sweet?
Nawala yata.
Mukhang nawala. Mukhang may bagyo din sa area, Philip. So, we're not sure kung gaano kaano. But,
Hello
yeah.
po, ayan,
Yan.
nakabalik
Nakabalik
na po.
na po. Yes, Miss Sweet. Question on funding. Is NTF LCAP part of the program of Kauswagan?
LCAC. Ano nga po yung LCAC? Sandali.
National
I-verify.
Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict.
Okay. So far, ang alam ko po kasi dapat nga ang nakaupo dito si si Sir Juni. Kasi more on tourism po ako. Hindi po ito na area of hindi ko po ito area of expertise. However, ang alam ko lang po regarding sa rebel returnees ba po kamo yung tanong nyo?
Yes.
Oo.
NTF LCAP on rebels.
Ang
Funding.
yung funding.
Yes, does Kauswagan's Arms to Farm program receive funding from the National Task Force?
Hindi. Yung Arms to Farms program po ni Mayor, hindi po. Actually, gagawin na po siyang foundation ngayon, pero parang international funding po ang tutulong para po maging mas strengthen po yung Arms to Farms program ni Mayor.
So it does not receive the NPA.
No po. Hindi po.
Okay, thank you, Miss Sweet, and thank you, Philip, for that. Meron ding question from the chat. The observations from Mindanao from 1951 to 2010 by Pag-asa show an overall drying trend. Are we considering reforestation to support the increase in water resources? I believe this is directed to Minda, to ASEC Montenegro. So we'll just take note of this and forward this question to ASEC Montenegro. So, are there any more interested questions, insights? Going once, going twice. So if wala na po, we'd like to thank our resource persons. But before I turn over to the formal acknowledgement of speakers and reactors, I'd like to close this open forum with that food security in Mindanao is a complex issue that really requires a coordinated and comprehensive approach, as we have listened to from the experience of Kauswagan and the input of ASEC Montenegro of Minda, by addressing the challenges, leveraging opportunities which was presented, and effectively implementing policies and initiatives. The region can make significant strides toward ensuring that all of its residents have access to sufficient, nutritious, and safe food. So that somehow sums up our session for this afternoon. So I'm now cultivating. Yes. So now I'd like to turn over the virtual space to Mr. Ed Valenzuela for the closing acknowledgement and closing remarks. So, Sir Ed?
Thank you very much, McCoy. And thank you very much to all the 80 participants who have listened through this afternoon's webinar. In particular, I think it's been very insightful and we've seen a variety of perspectives. Kaya it's very good, no? We also had an overall perspective from the Mindanao Development Authority, as well as an on-the-ground perspective through the LGU of Kauswagan. No? Without further ado, I'd like to present these certificates of appreciation to all our speakers and reactors. And I'd like to read one of the certificates, which is similar for everybody, and we will email these to the participants. No? So on behalf of the Social Sustainable Development Systems Network and our organizing group from Ateneo de Manila University, from Ateneo de Davao University, Ateneo de Cagayan Xavier University, Xavier Science Foundation, and the Ateneo Institute of Sustainability, we would like to present this certificate of appreciation to our speakers and reactors for their valuable contribution for this SDG 2 project's fourth webinar entitled Cultivating Resilience, Food Security Strategies in Mindanao, given this 22nd day of October 2024 via Zoom, and signed by Dr. Leland Joseph de la Cruz, Assistant Vice President for the Social and Environmental Engagement for Development and Sustainability Unit of the Ateneo de Manila University, which acts as secretariat for this working group. So maraming salamat po again to Assistant Secretary Romeo Montenegro from the Mindanao Development Authority, the municipality of Kauswagan, Lanao del Norte, represented by Ms. Sweet Lukman. We would also like to thank our reactors, Ms. Bay Emilia Gina, our indigenous people's community leader from Bukidnon, and our 3 student reactors, Ms. Hannah Aquino from the School of Business and Governance of Ateneo de Davao University, Mr. Joshua Bulado from Ateneo de Cagayan Xavier University, and from Ms. Denny Valerie Chacon, BS Life Sciences Management major from Ateneo de Manila University. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat, and hope that we found new insights and new perspectives. The story of Kauswagan was very very hopeful and very positive, as we can see, and also the story of Mindanao as a growing, dynamic, developing island group in the Philippines, and helping to feed our country. I'd also like to thank everybody, and before we in closing, this is already part of my closing remarks, just like to remind everybody that as we go forward, sure, there will always be, we have seen there are gaps in food insecurity, as we see in the country, as well as in the region, and even globally. And these are really part of systemic issues that have to be addressed, and also these are also have to be seen in the context of gaps in disparities, no, in equity, in the locations, no, in site, no, I mean on the ground. And we'd also like to I'd like to bring to the fore two or three of the issues that can help to spur the change, if you like. One of them, of course, is the importance of innovation, digitization, modernization. We can see that, and that will help to be able to cut through, to improve and to hasten food security in the region. That's one. Then the important role of finance. No? It's not really been discussed substantially, but we can see the role here in the case of Kausogan, probably the role of how international development assistance or development cooperation and maybe official development aid has been able to help spur some of the programs. I think part of the Rebel Returnees program could have been funded by the International Fund of Agricultural Development in an earlier iteration of this program. And then, of course, the role of gender, no? Women, and the other sectors of society, of course, working closely with farmers and the fishermen in the region, as gender is really part of the driving force, no? That sense of empowerment that we will see, and it's growing. No? Maybe here best represented by our IP woman leader, no? From Bukidnon today. And then, of course, the underpinnings of human rights. We know that the right to food, the right to life, the right to education, the right to health, and the right to shelter are all integrated. No? And all of these are really the basis for development and peace. No? They kind of have to work together to be able to be able to for society to be able to move forward. So with that, I'd like to close and thank everyone for their participation and for their being able to go through this program. We still have one more webinar to deliver by the end of before the end of the year. So please bear with us. After this, we're going to have the webinar assessment. We're going to flash on the screen the link for the webinar assessment. This will help you be able to obtain your certificate of your e-certificate. No? Please accomplish the webinar assessment form and give us your comments so we can help to improve this program, especially into the coming years. No? And we also would like to announce that we will have our last webinar of the year on Tuesday, November 26th, which will focus on agroecology. No? Here's the official title for the last webinar for the year. Our Green Future, Harnessing Biodiversity and Permaculture for a Nature Positive World. So we will look at some of the issues related to more organic agriculture, or what we call nature positive agriculture, the role of permaculture and biodiversity in this, and also some CSA. No? We're looking at experiences in community linked agriculture, no? Linking of consumers and farmer groups. So that will be the theme for November 26th. And we invite you to sign up for this last webinar for 2024. Thank you very much to everyone. And I believe we also invite you to join us in our Facebook group, Food Systems Community Dialogue, which is here. It's flashed here on the screen. Please join, and so you will be able to see the coverage and of the past webinars and the current webinars, and it will be saved there. There's the there's this link which is flashed here on the screen. And we will also take a group photo before you go. I think this is basically all I would like to say. Ika, can we also flash the webinar evaluation form? The webinar, this one. Okay, please fill up this, take a photo or use your phones or to take a photo of this webinar evaluation form so that we can leave this here as we take a group photo. Can we invite everybody to open their video screens and then for this group photo? Yeah. So
Okay, so I hope everyone has already turned their cameras on. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, smile. So there are 3 pages. So next page, just keep on smiling, everyone. Okay, one more. All right.
So thank you very much, Sir Ed, to our resource persons, to our reactors, and to our participants for this fourth webinar brought to you by SDSN Philippines, Ateneo de Manila, University, Ateneo Institute of Sustainability, Xavier University, Ateneo de Cagayan, Xavier Science Foundation, and Ateneo de Davao University. So we hope you can still join us in our last webinar for 2024 on November 26. And please don't forget to fill in our evaluation form to help us improve on the webinar series that we are conducting. Thank you very much. And once again, this is your facilitator for this afternoon, Makoy, for a safe and wonderful time and a restful week ahead for everyone. So keep safe and magang salamat ug mayong hapon.